Hello, this is Alan Wheeler on my YouTube channel where I've been talking about spirituality and the tarot, and recently have begun a new playlist called Morrigan Moments. This is the third one. I've also included the longer one that kicked it off, My Calling by the Morrigan. And this video is a little bit of a continuation of the second one, in which I talked about um, expressing some of the spiritual experiences um, and expansion out into my family or into the world. So the title was As Within, So Without? Question mark. The title of this video, being a continuation, may be something like In or Out of the Closet. And I did not know that this was a familiar theme among the pagan and witch community, but I have since experiencing this myself about a year ago, um, came to know this as the broom closet, a common conundrum I have found. So, in my case, my first tarot reading, although I'd been on forums and practicing for myself for quite a long time, several years at least, but my first reading, my first professional reading, which was with a priestess, um, my burning question was, how can I expand spiritually in uh, my Christian family and um, among those who don't believe or that worldview or think that way. And in that reading, it was pretty amazing. All four aces showed up and three came out in a row, and it was pretty dramatic in other ways as well. But essentially, the advice from the priestess was absolutely you can um, have your spiritual life and your practice, um, as well as expressing as much as you are comfortable with, um, as much as you feel able to over time. So it was a very balanced suggestion. Some of the pieces of advice were to take walks and bond with Gaia or Earth, meditation, of course, online connections and things which I was already doing. So a lot of good practical advice there. Several years before, when I first dabbled in tarot, one of the hardest things I ever did in my marriage was ask uh, my Christian wife, Kristen, if I could order some tarot cards. And I had explanations and answers all prepared at that time, but it was um, quite a leap for her. I think the next hardest uh, thing for me just a few weeks ago was telling her I wanted to purchase this statue here that you see of the Morrigan. And you can hear more about some of the things that rose up in me that came out during a Bible study and in a talk with her, and my insistence that other spiritual paths are understandable and acceptable. So that it was a bit of a breakthrough for me several weeks ago. And I'm just thinking about how much of the story to chart out of the timeline, but I think a lot of that is in the longer video on My Calling by the Morrigan. So how slightly surprised I was to feel actually scolded a bit by the Morrigan. And I'll share some of the signs that gave me pause and how I processed those. First of all, I had in my computer bag left this book I'm reading, the Book of the Great Queen. Now, I brought this out and showed it to Kristen when I asked about the statue, but subsequently I hid it back in my computer bag, and when I pulled it out the other day, it was creased. I've worked hard to get the crease out. I was disappointed to see I had creased it, putting it in the bag. And it gave me a slight pause, but not so much, until I similarly found a notebook that I had similarly stuffed away. And when I pulled it out, it also had, in a different spot, but it also had pages creased in a in the similar dog-eared fashion, coincidentally or synchronistically. Now, I don't know if this is pattern recognition and the conscience or the better angel of my nature kicking in, or if it's actual direction by real energy. Either way, the effect is the same. And I felt something's going on in my heart, especially when I pulled out my notes for the video I was making. And lo and behold, they had also, where they had been crammed in behind my nightstand to hide them, the pages had also been creased in the very similar fashion. So this was too much for me to ignore. The book, the journal, and the notes all similarly stressed. So I turned to my tarot cards to reflect on this, and I drew 3 from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The issue with my going back to my habit of hiding things and not exposing what I'm doing once again. And the first card I drew was the King of Pentacles, and the second card was the Queen of Cups, and the third card was the Two of Pentacles. And the 2 Pentacle cards just spoke to me immediately that this is about practice and behavior in the physical realm, in the real world. And the King spoke to me of taking that authority, taking charge of my practice, being willing to express boldly what I'm doing. Now, the Queen of Cups gives a different message to me. She speaks of sensitivity, being receptive, using intuition, waiting on divine timing, and a different approach entirely in my mind. But to the rescue comes the Two of Pentacles, which shows this figure juggling two coins here, two pentacles here, and it seems to express that risky feeling, that precarious situation, and the ships on the rough sea, and so on. And so it spoke to me that there's a needed balance between these two approaches, that neither need to be neglected, but they need to work together. This boldness, this sovereignty and authority over practice, this sensitivity, and this being in tune with the timing, and integrating those two well. I used a pendulum to further tap into this, and again, whether it's tapping into that better angel of my higher self, or wisdom in the collective unconscious, or personified deity, you be the judge. But first I asked about expressing directly, without reserve, to Kristen, and the pendulum swung in a circle, which indicates to me perhaps, maybe, soft yes. But when I said, okay, so the approach of basically of the King of Pentacles, the more aggressive approach, being led, the approach of the Queen of Cups, the pendulum swung back and forth, forward and backward, indicating a strong yes. I asked about sharing on Facebook, which I've done before. I've shared the meaning of this symbol of Odin that I wear, and how he hung on the world tree, and told some of his myth on Facebook, and got some responses from Christian friends and others. So I asked the same question about sharing on Facebook about symbols and things like this, and it was just the opposite. For the direct approach, I got the strong yes, and for the being led, I got the soft perhaps, maybe. I drew two Oham symbols, Oham sticks, for these two questions, and I'll end here. But for the question of sharing with Kristen and my family, I drew the gorse, the symbol for the gorse. And the gorse is burned back and grows. It rejuvenates quite easily. This is one of the characteristics of that plant. And it spoke to me of speaking and stepping back, sharing and waiting, taking the opportune time and stepping back with Kristen. And that agreed with what the pendulum seemed to be saying as well. Asking about the Facebook sharing, which was much stronger, I drew Strafe, the blackthorn tree. It's associated with the dark goddess and can be associated with benefiting from affliction. And so what might not be an easy path, but very rewarding, and kind of that dark situation, those thorns, but the blossoms as well. So let me stop here as the video is getting longer than I intended, but these are my reflections on in or out of the closet for me personally at this time. And it's not the same in every situation. So I am using intuition and wisdom and guidance to find my way. Thank you for watching. And as always, I hope you find connection with people in your life, with online community, and on your spiritual path, whatever that might be. Take care.